Welcome everyone to today's podcast. We are here to discuss the incredible journey of John Surtees in MotoGP, F1, and building his own game. He was a legend in the history of motorsports. I have Tavisha and Sakar with me.
So yeah, mainly when you see his name, all I could think about how this man, began his career because he wanted to go to both the fields, he wanted to try out different things. But how did he start? When I genuinely think about it, I feel like his parents played like a massive role in his life. Because I think age of 14 now his father took him to that particular race and how
Race one.
he
Yeah.
was thrown out just because of
The sidecar.
Sidecar race.
so I think that would show his passion, to be honest, because at the age of 14, his father is like willingly taking him in, and he was also interested enough to go into that race. And how his rush towards the race car feels like he came to know at the age of 14. I think which led him to seek out his passion at his earlier ages and along the ages of his life.
Yeah.
The streak of his career also says how much speed and passion he had. The way he switched, the decisions he took throughout his career, to even
And
like
I
switching streams and then getting into his own making of his own team and everything, such big difficult decisions that he took.
Because every achievement he has done is in a short span of time, like in 5 to 6 years, the man
Mm.
has achieved so many things, and he decided to take a major turn out of everything in terms of any view of his career.
Yeah. So from moving
I think
from
he started MotoGP in the 1952, Sakar, if I'm not wrong, and it
yeah
continued till
60s.
1960.
So for 8 years he raced
Hmm.
at MotoGP. He started at the age of 17 at the Ulster Grand Prix,
Okay.
and
I mean, I think at the age of 17, he had like a huge rivalry with Geoff Duke.
uh,
Exactly, and a
yeah.
man
So
comes out with that
uh,
age and that confidence.
in his inaugural season, and like that showed like what was coming in the years to follow. Yeah.
He like set the bar high only when he entered his
Mm.
career in MotoGP. I think his first world championship also when he won, he like won with 52 races or so, 39,
Mm.
which is like a massive win. Like it was a huge strike down only at that
Mm.
point.
Yep. Started with Norton Racing. So he had like an average run with that team, but it was still a very significant run. And following that, he moved with the Italian team MV Augusta.
Yeah, I think both of them were most part of his career, right? Like 4 years with Norton, and
Hmm.
then he switched to MV Augusta for the last 4 years.
Yeah, from 1956 to
The amount
1960.
of versatility, yeah, the amount of versatility this man had was just so crazy
Yeah,
because
definitely.
he did both 350cc, like a lightweight bike,
Hmm.
and a powerful bike with 500cc as well.
And he
Yep.
did not fail to lose in any of his things. He wanted both of them, proving his point that he could be versatile and he could be flexible with
Hmm.
whatever it is. It shows his skill set of how could he manage everything.
And winning in both the categories for 3 consecutive years. That's like one of the greatest achievements of any rider in motorsport.
MotoGP buff. So, do you think like having those wins in the MotoGP is like so? Me and Tavish are more like towards F1 side and not
Yeah.
MotoGP side of it. So
Hmm.
talk about more of like how MotoGP works and how difficult things are over there. Like now we can describe how difficult like an F1 race is when it's say like raining, right? So what
Hmm.
are the difficulties faced in like MotoGP?
So like in range, any motorcycle race becomes like I'd say 100 times tougher because you have to be I'd say cautious on every brake, on every corner while applying your brakes. But you also have to keep your pace because there are other riders fighting for that win. So yeah. Other
So
than
yeah, how
that,
was like shifting his different engine modes? Like he was in 500 as well as 300. So how how you think that managing those two, like how is that difficult to do?
I'd say like that definitely becomes a challenge when, especially when you are lowering the category from 500 cc to 350 cc, because you have ridden a powerful machine and then you switch to a lower power machine. So you expect, like, your subconscious, it expects a different performance from the machine, but you don't get it. So it actually requires just a lot of practice when you are doing that simultaneously. Like in today's date, so we have riders in a particular category. So if they have achieved something in Moto 2, they won't go back there like much. But if they are in MotoGP, they race there only. But in those times, riders used to race in multiple categories at the in the same season and used to win also. Like we have John Surtees, as example here. Alongside this, he also has a significant record in Isle of Man TT. Now, I see as a motorsport fan, as a motorcycle racing fan, Isle of Man TT, like I see as one of the like the epitome of motorcycle racing anywhere. Like racing at the mountain top with that risk, narrow roads, and speeds of 250, 300 km per hour. So, alongside
Yeah.
his regular MotoGP run, John Surtees also has a significant record in the Isle of Man TT. He won the title in 1956, his first season with MV Agusta, and alongside that, he finished second in the 1957 race. Yeah,
So he won Isle of TT as far as I remember for like 3 consecutive years, na?
yeah. So
58,
Yeah, it was
59, and
exactly.
60.
So from 58 to 60 were one of the like the most glorious years for any rider in MotoGP history. He won 500 cc, he won 350 cc, and he also won Isle of Man TT titles.
And any race he raced, he pretty much like it was evident that he was winning. Like at the end of the world champion, most of the races was won by him, right?
Yeah,
I think in the career of 8 years that he had won 7 world championships.
uh,
That efficient was John Surtees.
yeah,
He's
He
like a
com-
benchmark for these people.
I think continuing what Sakar was talking about Ironman TT titles, he raced for 15 races on the Snaffle Mountain
Ah,
Circuit
mm,
since 1954 when he made his debut with Norton.
yeah.
exactly. It's just this is I actually can't even believe like how did he had that mindset, like to have these kind of like to get into those kind of challenges, having a proper mindset was highly required and
Mm,
he nailed it to be honest.
yeah. The Italian people, like for racing with MV Agusta, Italian people, they named him Figilo del Vento, if I'm pronouncing it right, which is son of the wind, for his feat from the years of 58 to 60, as we just now saw. Yeah, that was,
So like that was his nickname.
yeah.
Huh. Italian
Like
people,
this
bro,
was
they
one of
never
the
leave
few
their
nicknames
biology.
he received. He also got other nicknames during his F1 run. Yeah,
And
definitely.
during
He's
his
one of the few
MotoGP
riders with
career.
very hardly any crashes in his career. That's like one of the, I mean, a key detail in any rider's career in MotoGP.
Because that shows the skill set he has now. Because
Yeah.
he's not able to do crashes as well as he's trying
Hmm.
to win off the races. It proves how much like mentally he's prepared to get into any arena of races he wanted to.
Definitely, because
Yeah, while like reading through his career and everything,
hmm,
I also found out that when he was working with MV Augusta, he
Hmm.
also talked to like the engineers in who were working on his bike and always gave them ideas on how to make the bike not only fast but also reliable and safer for him to handle in races. I think he had a pretty good knowledge even about how his bike works, how his engines run.
this
I
thing
think those
actually
kind of
came
like
from
small
his
things help.
parents, from his childhood only. His father was into bikes and a mechanic himself. And one of the incidents of his life is his father told him he gave him a large box of dismantled motorcycle parts when he was very young, maybe
Okay.
14, 15 years old, and he said, if you can get it back together, you can ride it. So like,
I think his
yeah.
father has majorly influenced him, like,
Mm,
making sure he has like a mindset not only as a driver but also as an engineer. So he's able to connect to the both the worlds and understand how his bike works. I think that helped him throughout his career.
definitely. For any driver
His dad, when
in,
he went
yeah.
for that, like we discussed before, like he went for that. His dad used to do sidecar races. When
Mm,
he was 14, he took him in a race when he knew he'd get disqualified,
uh,
just to make him feel the rush of speed and how all of this works to build
Not only
interest.
that, also, his mother also rode
mm,
motorcycles and that. And thinking of that time, from that time, his family was around this certain space of motorcycles, building cars or building motor cars.
yeah.
The major time which he had shifting into Formula One, when
Mm,
a person who has achieved this much in a MotoGP and he suddenly decided to switch to Formula One, I think it was a brave decision which he took at that point of his life.
So like first of all, let's view he was merely 26 with all his achievements in MotoGP. He had 7 titles. He had four, if I'm not wrong, yeah, he had four Isle of Man TT titles. And following this, he moved to Formula One. And at the age of 26, which is still almost an age where Formula One drivers start racing in Formula One. So
I mean, it must have been so difficult for him to make that. It was at the peak of his career in motorcycle racing. For like, he raced for 8 years, won 7 world championships consecutively, and switching then into Formula One, where you drive a car. So now your driving techniques and engineering techniques are so much more different than what it is in a bike.
Yeah, but once he entered only, I think he made like a great impact in the Formula One like racetrack. Because soon after he joined, Ferrari themselves went approached him and picked him as their driver. Soon, like he made his debut, so that proves how much of skill set he produced, even like
mm,
being in the Formula One track, being a MotoGP driver.
I mean, like as we spoke about him being able to, understand his bikes, talking to his engineers, so now he had to learn a completely new and a different racecraft on its own. Like, so he had to relearn how the racecraft of driving works. Like MotoGP is more like, balancing your body and understanding the bike. But now you come
mm,
to F1, your reflexes have to be extremely fast uh,
yeah.
and like learn how
So like
tracks work
switching from a
and
handlebar to a
understand
steering
how.
first of all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
first of all, now he has to understand like how the
Mm,
car works, how to do yeah, basically as she mentioned, the racetrack. Now he has to understand the complete racetrack of how it goes.
mm,
And you have to have a teammate right now and you have to communicate with your teammate and
yeah.
make your team to a success. That's like a great change from being a driver, like rider to a driver now.
Mm,
And he has like made like a great changes in that, and he has pretty much been like a tough competitor for the other team members as well as the racer drivers there, because he has like had massive injuries and he had many difficulties he's faced in the Formula One career, but still he always tried to back up every time and rather not giving up.
So again, he started from like the most bottom, where he made an impressive debut, finishing second in his first Formula Junior race.
mm,
After which, in 1960, he started his Formula One debut.
right. So he was basically managing the Formula One alongside MotoGP when he was at the peak in those
MotoGP
years.
at that
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
There is one particular race I always was amazed of how he did. It was in 1960, if I'm not wrong, it's 1965, where he had a major
A
injury, a
crash.
car crash happened in
Yeah.
that happened, and due to which his injured leg, his legs length are in a match right now. So one leg is shorter than the other. And people, many speculated his career would have been like, gone to downfall
Mm.
because of this. But he decided to come back in 1996 in the Belgian Grand Prix
66.
Spa.
Is
And
it?
what he did, yeah, 1966. And
Mm.
there he proved people that, this small setback wouldn't stop his career. And in that race, it heavily was raining. It was
Mm.
raining heavily. Still, we know how difficult tracks
Yeah.
when
So
that happens due to a lot of slip and slip.
Yeah,
and driving that with
And still,
I think what
an injured leg where you have to. We all know how difficult it is to race the braking and accelerating in raining conditions. That too with injury in your leg. So
and all of the incident that happened was a life-threatening accident, like we discussed, and this happened during a practice race,
mm.
not even in a proper GP race. Happened in Ontario in Canada when he hit a barrier and he overturned it. So it was bad, and God knows how he came back
I
to
think he
making
had
an
like a
excellent
strong
debut.
mindset. No? He had like a massive mindset. I think he wanted to, set achievements in everything. I think that only always motivated him. Because he has also mentioned, like, many times that his enthusiasm and his enthusiasm to learn everything has always been like his, sparking or spark plug, which has always helped him to achieve whatever he has.
How was his career before, you know, the accident happened?
Before accident, he was just the most competitive guy, and everybody knew when he was in track. He was kind of an aggressive driver, also. I think that comes as a Formula One driver in hand because we can't expect our drivers to be that calm and patient.
Yeah.
I'd say the Red Bull fans would agree.
Yep.
So basically, in those times, he was just mainly he got many pole positions, but he was kind of struggling to win the Grand Prix. But soon he found his spots, and it was his debut at the beginning years. Then soon he found out how things work there, and he got adjusted very quickly, if I had to say. And he adjusted, and he started off his career again in short span of time. Within 5 or 6 years, all these happened when he entered.
Being on pole and not able to keep that position. We know someone like that. And
I think he started his career with Lotus Racing. That's right.
he did.
And he,
Yeah.
he was tested by talent hunters and competed in his first Formula One race at Goodwood.
Oh.
And that's what I was saying. Now, this actually, see, he never wanted to come off in like as a strong driver suit. But once he entered the field, many teams saw his potential, and they thought that he could like be a massive potential for their team. And that's when Ferrari came in and took him. And it was the sole reason he joined Ferrari. He even went with Le Mans with Ferrari also. And he not only started Formula One, he went to Le Mans with Ferrari also. He decided to get the team there, and he also completed the 12-hour run for it also.
So like as far as I am aware, Le Mans is at the level of Isle of Man TT in Formula One. So being at the highest category races in both in two different worlds altogether, I'd say it's like it shows the caliber of the driver and definitely.
Yeah, because see, the thing is, you have to see the variation. In Formula One, it's all about speed and like how fast you are
Mm.
able to get your laps done and all. But when you go to Le Mans, it's more like an endurance test where you have to go for 24 hours in one
Yeah.
particular trap again and again. He still decided to go there also and prove that he's able to do that also. And
I
yeah,
think seeing how determined he was towards his racing career in MotoGP and his endurance in Formula One. He joined Ferrari. Enzo Ferrari admired Surtees' passion and hired him as Ferrari's number one driver
Mm.
in 1963.
And uh, and
So,
in '64 he became the first person on earth to have titles in both Formula One and MotoGP.
Yeah, I think he
Yeah.
achieved his first Formula One victory at the German Grand Prix in that year.
Hmm.
Yeah. That was his second.
That's when John Surtees became John Surtees and had titles both in MotoGP
Yeah.
and F1.
That kind of
And
career.
the only person.
Yeah, I think. I mean, like, genuinely, I'm astonished by how this man wanted it. See, he wanted to have a diverse career, and he was so fixed by it, and that is something really inspiring. Because when he came into, like, this car racing also, he didn't stop with only Formula One. He tried to go to Le Mans, which is like a total different format, which he was not, like, putting himself into his own, like, testing himself. I would say he was rather testing himself with a lot
Hmm.
of passion to see how far they are.
That's still like a dream for any person to even think of having titles in both like two different worlds altogether, I'd say. Now let's talk about controversies. He split with Ferrari in 1966. Yeah, and moved
I
to
think
Honda.
that
As
major split happened because it's like, he wasn't agreeing with many terms and conditions of what Enzo Ferrari wanted and his motto of like how he wanted to go with his
Hmm.
racing. I think that conflicted a bit, and that,
It
like,
was a
drivers
mid-season
can be
split as
argued.
far as I remember. Yeah,
Yeah, I think how our drivers always wanted what they want and their principles, and
yeah,
we
There's
know
always
exactly.
a difference between the principals and the drivers all the time, even during the race.
Yeah, even right now, I think it's been like a Formula One ka statement by this now. Because even right now, people talk about, people make memes and everything because we know how furious drivers and the teams will get if things don't go their way.
After the split, he went to Hooper and Honda, no?
Huh.
hmm,
Like for a few time, I think at that point he also had like a spark of, like what if I made my own team and how it work.
all
And
right.
I think it was like a starting point of where to see how it goes. And soon, after a few years into other teams, trying out for other teams, seeing how he could work in other teams, he decided to make his own team as well, which he did.
Yeah, because the successes he had, like with Cooper and Honda, finished like 1966 with Cooper, winning the season finale in Mexico. That happened. And then he joined Honda in
Honda. Yeah,
67, right after
won the Italian
he
Grand Prix, I
won
think. Yeah.
the Italian Grand Prix
Hmm.
in 1960. Yeah, the later part of his career was as a team principal
Hmm.
Yeah.
and a driver combined, put together.
I think he was like at a point, his retirement age when he came for Formula One, he was actually neglecting that fact that he has to be retired because he was too passionate to leave all his career and like sit back and watch the racing. That's something he did not want to do.
Hmm.
Because in 1970, when the team established, he also wanted to be a driver for his own team. But due to his restrictions and being the age factor also mattered at that. I think his team, when he created his team, I think it lasted for around 8 to 9 years, right? Because he started his team in 1970. I think it was like disbanded or something around 1978 or 9. I'm not pretty
He started formation of the team in 1966,
okay.
but it eventually came into play in 1970, like when he started like taking part in races and everything.
Oh wait, isn't the 1965 he had his accident also? His accident in 1965. He started from in 1996.
Yeah, he started. That's what I read about.
Hmm.
Hmm.
His headquarters was in England because that's where he was from.
Yeah.
The team headquarters. I think the only reason for his team declinement was no appropriate financial aids that were provided.
Hmm.
Do you think his team would have done a really good job given the fact that he had a lot of money?
I
Yeah,
personally
I
think
think so.
I think he would have been a great team principal since he knows different formats and different different techniques works in different formats. So he could give a great input to the drivers and the team on how they have to build a certain way or how they have to set a mindset. for a particular race because he knows how in different formats different mindset is required. Since that knowledge he has, I think he would have been a great team principal. Whatever the
Sakar,
name.
what is your opinion
So
on
I'd say
like
like
if you would have had the
the first
financial
thing
issue?
is
Because in by the time in
having your a team manager
huh,
who has been on track himself and on four wheels as well as on two wheels. So he has immense amount of experience there. Other than that, we also know about his knowledge with the technical point of view. And racing for all these years, he now also had a vision of how the team works actually. So yeah, I believe it would have been like it would have been significantly successful had it not been for the financial issue.
he still didn't stop racing even after his team came up. He built his
Hmm.
own car, raced for 3 years after that. I think
Huh, he,
73 he retired from
yeah,
driving and focused on the whole team management aspect of it.
that's something I think it was like one of his childhood dreams. Because since remember his father was like dismantle and built it, then you could ride. So I
Hmm.
think that small dream he was able to achieve at a big platform like Formula One, where he built his own car, own team, formed everything. So it was like an accomplishment of his childhood dreams, I would say.
Hmm. Yeah. So he retired in 1973, and with all those records of Isle of Man TT titles, 350, 500cc titles, Formula One titles, having raced in Le Mans, and yeah, but and despite that, he did not leave his connection with motorsports. Yeah.
He once even quoted to one of the reporters saying, I suffered perhaps from an excess of enthusiasm of always wanting to get deeply involved in any project which I'm working on. So, like, I think he just gave off a statement of how he actually thinks about every sport he wants to
Every
do.
sport. I mean, given more time, he would have gone into more sports, I feel.
Yeah, I think even he was like, in 2016, in Hall of Motorsports Fame, he was awarded there also.
Yeah.
Because great career achievements, great versatility he had in every form of sporting,
Mm.
due to which he got into this Hall of Motorsports Hall of Fame. He got in 2016, he got this.
Initially, like now talking about his whole team career, like when he started building a car from the scratch, the early focus he again had was on manufacture and competing in Formula 2 cars. So
Mm.
he started learning it again step by step. First, he didn't straight up go to a Formula 1,
Formula
though
One.
he
Yeah.
could have. He started from Formula 2.
Mm.
I would say that he was clear in his mindset. Like that's what since he has been to different formats, I think he knows how things work. And stepping like he did not take a huge leap also since he was a One driver. He did not have a mindset of like just let me just directly jump into Formula One. Rather, he analyzed of what has to be done
Mm.
and focused on how his team has to move forward. I think that was like one of like a good decision making skills he had.
So now, in the later part of his life, he also founded the Henry Surtees Foundation, which was in memory of his son, who sadly passed away in an accident in 2009. Yeah.
Like he was watching one of the races happening, and due to one time when a driver crashed, he also like in the arena he also got injured, and his injury was so severe that he had to.
As you know, the team Surtees, they entered Formula One in 1970 after around 4 years in Formula Two. So, like, they prepared themselves there and for the big stage, and finally they entered in 70. And Surtees himself, he himself raced for the team for 3 years. So, like, this shows his determination and like his passion for motorsports altogether.
That the team was in Formula 1 for 8 years, 1970 to 1978, right?
Yeah. So, like, it shows his transition from a rider to a driver and then a team principal. So, a total passion for motorsports and his dedication there. So, as far as I remember, it was like three or four drivers that were in contention for the title in that particular race itself. So, we
It
know
was
how challenging
vast,
that
like a
is.
name. true. Because that time people were running until the
Yeah,
end of the race. Nobody knew who will finish the race at.
yeah. Like if we have two people competing
I'm
for the
pretty
title,
sure
and
you guys
still
are saying.
it's like a huge race there. It's a huge challenge there. And here we had three. So that's Graham Hill and Jim Clark alongside John Surtees in one particular race there. Yeah.
If I remember, Jim Clark started with the pole position, but due to some mechanical failure, I'm not sure, was it oil leak or something? Due to he
Mm.
has to started with the pole position and he suffered due to some mechanical issue due to which he had to come off of the racetrack, which helped the other drivers to fight for the positions, right?
Yeah. Like
And
Graham
if
Hill,
you
he was
remember,
leading the championship at that time, and he started fifth at that race. Mm.
but that mechanical failure actually made an advantages for the other drivers, right?
Yeah.
Since he was out of the track and championship points, they could start taking the lead by winning the podium finish. And if I'm
Mm.
right, one of the drivers till the last second there was like till the finish line there was a confusion who's gonna get the first or these podium finishes, right?
Yeah, yeah. So even Surtees' teammate was like a significant part of the his victory in that race. Yeah.
How?
So in the final lap, Ferrari instructed Bandini, that's Surtees' teammate, to slow down and allow Surtees to pass through. And finally, he finished second place. I mean, he passed into place behind Dan Gurney. So this secured his title for the season.
This will
So
be a major. This was so important because at the end he actually won the world champion by 1 point.
yeah, so
So this
mm,
that second and third actually played a major role towards the end of it.
Yeah, probably
certainly.
these two positions like pushed him be like, okay, I can do something even in
Mm.
Formula One. I can understand the racecraft and everything that motivated him to eventually get the pole.
So let's talk more about his team. You guys asked me to compare him to a certain MotoGP rider in today's date. What do you think are teams in today's date that relate to his team back in the 1960s and 70s?
I mean, again, to be very diplomatically right, I'm not going to take any names right now, but then I feel like there are two, three teams in today's F1 stage who who have faced challenges breaking and eventually becoming into a top tier teams. But there were here and there a little bit of budget constraints. Though now it's become so much more better because you have sponsorship from
Yeah,
everywhere. You don't have to fund it completely.
Yeah, so I think like most of the team like, financially they were like that finding a spot where you financially help the team by giving them a best part. It's a huge like two contradicting things because when you like give the best parts for the team, ultimately your cost gets high. But being a team with the proper people, you have to know how to manage that. And right now, there are few teams which are struggling to maintain that balance between, but yeah, they are getting better.
yeah, right.
And like John Surtees had his own deep personal love towards motorsport, and it's why he delved even into the strata of building his own car and everything like that. There are teams around this age that are also family led and
Mm.
self led, due to which there are issues. Again, only budget. I feel like budget was like the major issue then, and for a couple of teams, it is still now.
Like in today's date, we have teams with brilliant drivers, but then they can't keep up because of bad cars, and the other way around sometimes. So mostly these are the issues in today's date, but like budgetary issues have like they have significantly reduced in the what F1 is today.
Yeah, I mean I agree to what Sakar said. There are not many budgetary issues now.
Mm.
There are a lot of varied opinions about whether the car is wrong, car is faulty or the
Yeah.
driver is not good enough. John Surtees was a trailblazer in the world of motorsports, proving the greatness knows no boundaries, whether on two wheels or four wheels. His journey reminds us the power of adaptability, determination, and passion, and probably still motivates uh, people in the motorsports field.
Yeah. So, like, one thing we are sure that anything he decided to take up on track, he did it to his best and achieved and tried to achieve the greatest possible in that field. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And at a
Yeah.
young
In
age.
every
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I was saying is that in every field which he stepped in, he tried to take the best out of, or not even the best, he wanted to create a trademark in every field he wanted, like he stepped in, and I think he did a pretty great job because we are still talking about him, which proves a point
Yeah.
how still great he is.
So thank you guys. This is a great podcast that we have. Talk about one of the best persons in motorsport industry. Thank you guys. I hope you like
Like,
this episode.